Hey guys, Sherri here with Plants for All Seasons. We decided to get out in a yard today. We came out to Village Creek neighborhood, not far from the nursery. They have a serious brown patch infestation. Some of the most amazing brown patch spots I've ever seen, but we needed to come into a yard where we knew the people. So we are here in my friend Shauna's yard, and she's got this whole area of the side of the driveway that's been infested with brown patch. What brown patch is a soil-borne fungus. And years that we have, all the rain that we've had, and the ground just stays so wet, there's a lot of things that contribute to it, but that's one of the things. And that's what we're seeing, just this explosion of brown patch. Like every yard you go into in this neighborhood has brown patch. So that's just amazing to me. So I just wanted to kind of go over some quick tips on treating brown patch. You have options when you're treating brown patch. There's the chemical options and the organic options. So I'm going to go through both because I would rather you go into this knowing and being educated on the products that you're putting out, and don't just keep putting out products that don't work, because there's a lot of fungicides out there. Since this is a fungus, we're going to treat it with fungicides. There's a lot of fungicides out there that say brown patch that don't work for brown patch. So I'm going to start here with the chemical treatments. What we sell most of on the chemical treatments is this nitrophos PCNB. It's called Total Brown Patch Control. We also have Heritage, which is more of a golf course grade fungicide. Both of these are a chemical treatment that will stop brown patch for a short time. Brown patch can then start growing again if the pressure is high for the fungus. So it's a repeat treatment kind of application when we're going the chemical route. So what you would do is, when you have brown patch present, and how you know you have brown patch is, hopefully on the video you can see it. There's brown looking grass, you have your green grass, and then there's this little edge, and it's circular in form. It doesn't always have perfect circles. There is some brown patch around here that are just perfect circles, but it has this little edge of yellow in this brown patch, and usually the middle of the patch starts to regreen, and you can see in here beautiful green grass coming through. It does take on another form, so this is very organized brown patch, so you can definitely see the spots, right? Then if you look through here, this is brown patch starting to pop up with these yellow blades, but it's a little more widespread. It's not very organized. We're seeing a lot of unorganized brown patches in yards that maybe stayed on the drier side. In areas that stayed wet, like between houses, during all that rain, we're seeing very organized brown patch. Or people that are just overwatering, we're seeing very organized brown patch. In my yard, since I've been organic in my practices for so long, I can still have brown patch pop up, but it doesn't spread and get circular in form. It never can get very organized because my microbes in my soil take care of it for me. So yards that aren't really heavy in healthy microbes are going to have more defined brown patches. So if you were going to treat it with chemicals and you had widespread areas, it's recommended to treat the areas, maybe put it in a spreader and treat the whole area and right outside the area. If you just have small spots, you can do it with your hand, with a glove, because these are chemicals. And you would take this and just chicken feed it out on the spot, the whole spot, and then right outside that spot, about a foot outside that spot. Now our ground is pretty wet because we just got rain, but let's say it had been dry and we still have these spots. You would want to lightly water these products in after you put them out to activate them. Okay, so that's the chemical measure. Now you would treat this and it'll stop it. And here's a spot over here that my friend has already treated, and you can see it's kind of losing its circle, and it's just brown now. It doesn't have that yellow tinge to it. So this is inactive fungus now. It's put it back into dormancy. That's what the fungicides do, is they kind of just put the fungus back into dormancy, so it's not active. So what you should expect from it looking like that yellow spot, where it's moving to more brown and it's isolated, it's not moving. Now in about 30 days, if the conditions are right, if we have moisture, if we're getting rainfall, And if our temperatures are in that 60, 70 degree range, low 80s, this spot can become active again. And at that point, you would retreat it. So with the chemicals, every 30 days, you have to kind of keep your eye on the spot and retreat if necessary, if the pressure is high for the fungus at that point. So when you're doing the chemicals, you've got to retreat. We can come back over here, and I'm going to show you the organic treatment. Organics, you just change your mindset from stopping the fungus to preventing the fungus. So if you have active fungus, we can still treat. And this right here is like a dynamic duo. It's going to work the same as the chemicals in the beginning as far as it will stop it and we can regrow. The difference is your long-term expectations are going to be, if you do get fungus, your soil will then be able to fight it off on its own. So this will be a long-term treatment plan. And what it is Humates Plus by Microlife. This is going to inoculate the soil with all kinds of good stuff and putting out compost, the leaf mold compost. I have put leaf mold compost on a spot of fungus and stopped it the same way it did with the chemicals. And in 30 days, that spot can become active again. And then you retreat it with the compost. And like I said, the difference is time after time of building the soil, you will have long-term control rather than putting the chemical out time after time after time. Now, the good thing about brown patch, there is a good thing about brown patch, it doesn't kill your grass, it just makes it look bad. So, if you don't treat it, you're not going to kill your grass, but you're going to be more susceptible to weeds come the springtime. So if you have a lot of brown patch, I would stop it so that in the spring your green up is faster, it comes back nice and thick so that you're not fighting weeds next year. That's where the big problem can come in. So Humates Plus you would put all over your whole yard with a spreader, and then you would treat your bad brown patch spots with compost. And this is really easy to do. You can wear gloves, you don't have to. I'm just going to wear them because I don't want to get my hands dirty. But you just put it out just like you would the chemical, right on the spots and right outside the spots. It will turn brown instead of yellow. This little yellowish look will go away, the same as with the chemical treatment that we put down. So it'll stop just the same, it'll have that brown look. Now at this point in the year, we won't have a lot of recovery because the days are getting shorter, it's cooling off, our grass isn't actively growing like it was, it's kind of going into a sleepy state, a dormant state. So you won't have complete recovery of your brown patches. And then in a few months, a few weeks, our grass is going to go dormant and everything's going to turn brown. So you're really not going to see your brown patch versus your green grass. Everything's going to look brown and dormant. And then in the springtime, our grass will come out of dormancy and you'll probably see where your brown patches were. If you don't have that yellowish tinge, then it's not active. There's no reason to treat. If you have that yellowish look, then it is active and we need to retreat in the spring. So whether you do it with the organic treatment or the chemical treatment, you need to keep your eyes on it and know that when you see that yellowish tinge, it's time to retreat. Okay, so hopefully this clears up. I'm sorry, what, Kelly?
The Humates?
The Humates, yeah, that we're going to put over the whole yard.
Okay.
Yeah, with a spreader, you're going to put it all over the whole yard. I do that once a quarter, and that decreases the amount I'm having to water. That's another thing with brown patch. If we can take the moisture out of the equation, we can control fungus. But a lot of times when we get into the fall, we get into our rainy season, and this year it feels like it's been the whole year, but our rainy season comes and the temperatures are more mild, and that's perfect breeding ground for this fungus. So if we can stop watering so much and put stuff like this Humates Plus that's going to build the soil, we can control fungus a lot better. Any other questions?
No, but I did want to show this awesome brown patch by the stop sign over here. Let's turn and look over here. It's a perfect circle of brown patch where kids often play Ring Around the Rosie, so they get a lot of foot traffic and it keeps it in a nice little tight circle, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, so brown patch is one of those funguses that can be spread through foot traffic. So if you have kids running around in the yard a lot, and up through this little alley here, you can see the basketball goal. Kids are tromping around all in that area. So yeah, they will spread brown patch. So I say use the organic treatment, get it under control, and let the kids play.
And what about, like, a lot of people say their yard man brings in the brown patch?
Yeah. I wouldn't blame the yard man for it, but yes, foot traffic can. So if you and your neighbor, you share a property line, and your yard man steps right here and then goes into your yard, yes, you can spread fungus that way, but I wouldn't blame your yard guy for that. I mean, you can't blame them for everything. It's going to happen. But like, for instance, at my house, between my house and my neighbor's house, there's brown patch. I don't have any spreading into my yard because it is a healthier environment. So yes, it will go with foot traffic, but don't blame your poor lawn guy for your brown patch.
Yes.
Or your weeds. We've got to take responsibility for what happens in our yard.
So should we do any preventative treatment in the patches during the winter, like pre-emergent herbicides or things like that, to prevent the weeds come springtime?
Yes, so you will want to put some barricade out in the areas. I would just do your whole yard. This year especially, we're seeing a lot of weeds because we stayed so wet during Harvey that our grass struggled a little bit. So I would put out a pre-emergent, just be proactive, put it out this fall, and then put it out again in March to try to prevent the amount of weed killers that are going to be used this spring. Because weed killers in St. Augustine, it's not a good pair. So let's try to prevent some of those weeds so we're not having to put a ton of weed killer out.
All right.
Okay, great, awesome. We're at the nursery to help you. Thanks.